For most people, the faces on American coins feel permanent. Lincoln on the penny, Jefferson on the nickel, Roosevelt on the dime, Washington on the quarter, Kennedy on the half dollar, and Eisenhower on the dollar, although that might not feel permanent because it hasn't been that way for like 50 years. But none of this was automatic. For a long time, the United States refused to put real people on coins at all. Early American money used symbols instead, mostly liberty. The first real person didn't appear until the 1892 and 1893 Columbian Exposition half dollar, which showed Chris Columbus. It was commemorative, but it opened the door for portrait coins. The first circulating portrait coin came in 1909 with Abraham Lincoln. His profile appeared on the penny for the 100th anniversary of his birth. President Theodore Roosevelt commissioned Victor David Brenner to design it. Lincoln had led the nation through the Civil War and issued the Emancipation Proclamation. Public support overcame the long-standing American resistance to using portraits on coins. Thomas Jefferson joined U.S. coinage in 1938 when the Jefferson nickel replaced the Buffalo nickel. Artist Felix Schlag designed the portrait based on a Houdon bust. Jefferson had already appeared on the $2 bill in 1869. Later changes included the 2005 Westward Journey series, which I'll show here, and then the 2006 modern portrait, which you might see on more recent nickels. It was designed by Jamie Franke from an 1800 Rembrandt Peale study. Franklin Delano Roosevelt replaced Liberty on the dime in 1946, only 1 year after his death. Roosevelt had led the nation through the Great Depression and World War II, created the New Deal, and established Social Security. Many argued he belonged on the dime because he helped found the March of Dimes to fight polio. The design is credited to mint engraver John Sinek, although Selma Burke argued until her death that it was based on her earlier plaque, an argument that's still discussed today. A portrait of George Washington, our first president, went onto the quarter in 1932 for the 200th anniversary of his birth. The Bicentennial Committee had actually wanted a one-year Washington half dollar, but Congress instead chose to permanently replace the Standing Liberty quarter due to half dollars not being in production during the Great Depression. The committee supported a design by a woman named Laura Garden Fraser, who had actually already created the official Washington Bicentennial Medal, and the Commission of Fine Arts also backed her work. But Treasury Secretary Andrew W. Mellon overruled them and chose a man named John Flanagan's design instead, a decision his successor, Ogden L. Mills, kept in place, not wanting to disrupt the public's perception of the quarter. Like the Jefferson nickel, the Washington portrait was based on a classic sculpture by Jean-Antoine Houdon. Washington became president in 1789 after leading the Continental Army in the Revolutionary War and presiding over the Constitutional Convention. He helped define the role of the presidency. A little thing, though, Laura Garden Fraser's design is the design on the quarter now, if you've noticed how recent quarters have the more chubby-looking design. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just different. But her design's finally in use for the American Women's Series quarter. John F. Kennedy's half dollar was created the very day he was assassinated in 1963. Mint director Eva Adams contacted chief engraver Gilroy Roberts within hours. Jackie Kennedy selected the half dollar denomination. Roberts designed the obverse, and Frank Gasparro designed the reverse. Congress approved the redesign quickly. Kennedy had launched the Peace Corps, pushed for civil rights legislation, and set the goal of reaching the moon. His sudden death made the coin an immediate national tribute. Dwight D. Eisenhower appeared on the dollar from 1971 to 1978, honoring both the former president and the Apollo 11 moon landing. Frank Gasparro also designed it. Congress debated whether the coin should contain silver, but in the end, the circulating coins were base metal, with 40% silver versions made for collectors. The large size made the coin unpopular in circulation, and it was discontinued after 1978 and replaced with the Susan B. Anthony dollar. And for pretty much all intents and purposes, I don't really think about any other presidents as being on coins. It's just those six on the six major denominations. But I'm sure you're thinking about the presidential dollar series. It began in 2007 after George W. Bush signed the program into law in 2005. 4 presidents were released each year in order, the first being George Washington in 2007. The coins used edge lettering, which is like writing on the side of the coin, for the first time since 1933. Like the Sacagawea dollar before it, the series failed to gain traction, and circulation issues ended in 2011, though collector pieces continued being released for the rest of the presidents. Because only deceased presidents can appear on U.S. currency, the series paused in 2016 with Nixon, Ford, and Reagan. Then, the George H.W. Bush dollar released in 2020 after his death. It's the most recent. And here's a fun fact to end on. Calvin Coolidge is the only president who ever appeared on a coin while he was alive. He showed up on the 1926 sesquicentennial half dollar, something that's never happened before or since. And if you're like me, I guess up until the recording of this video, and didn't know what sesquicentennial means, it's relating to 150 years, just like bicentennial or centennial, but with more letters.